from Geneva, Illinois. Class A Midwest League Baseball, the Class A affiliates of the Boston Red Sox and the Florida Marlins. Indeed, it's the Michigan Battle Cats versus the Kane County Cougars. Welcome, everybody. Matt Vasgersian along with Steve Lyons. And after a couple of days on our Baseball Across America tour, where we were in the big ballparks, the glamorous minor league settings, we are back onto the farm. Indeed, grassroots baseball tonight, Steve.
Well, you know what happens in A-ball is generally you have a lot of guys that in their former programs, either out of college or out of high school, are the big fish in the small pond. And then when they come to A-ball, they find out that there's a lot of big fish in a small pond, and they have to develop their skills or get weeded out quickly.
Indeed, many of the guys down here at this level have no more than a couple years pro experience.
Yeah, and you know, it's the toughest league to play in. You're talking about a lot of long bus rides. You're talking about $15 a day meal money. You're talking about lousy conditions for the most part, but a nice stadium again today. And I'll tell you what, you also have to battle the elements. Today, a heat wave in Chicago, and I don't know, by my count, I'm saying that's about 108 degrees a few minutes before game time.
Yeah, I got a little gravy going myself. A guy who hasn't been gravying since about 3 o'clock. We welcome Gus Johnson to our broadcast tonight. Gus.
And when it comes to fans, it doesn't get too much better than here in Kane County. This stadium seats about 5,800 people, and they usually get that or close to that amount during ball games here. But over the July 4th weekend, they did a little bit better as they crowded the picnic area as well as the hill down the third base line. And for the weekend series, drew 23,000 fans, which nowadays is better than some major league ball games. And this stadium features a whole lot of attractions for fans watching minor league baseball. And all today, we're going to feature some of them to you. But right now, let's go back to Matt for more.
Oh, not even old mean Mr. Heat Miser can keep the fans away from Kane County tonight. A hot one in the Midwest. We'll be back with our starting. Well, they arrive by land, by plane, perhaps. Fans skydiving into the stadium tonight. Welcome back to Elfstrom Stadium in Geneva, Illinois. Matt Vasgersian, Steve Lyons back along with you. Glad to have you tuned into us tonight. Indeed, we are back on the farm. A-ball in Kane County, Illinois, one of the most successful franchises here in the Midwest League. Well, that guy is taking his time getting down here, isn't he?
Yeah, you know, you're in a major league game, you'd wonder if this guy was lost, but at a minor league game with all the promoting that they do, you know that this is part of the show here at Kane County, and they have really drawn so many fans over this season because with the major league strike that went on and the disappointment in the Chicago White Sox, this stadium being just about 40 to 45 minutes outside of the city of Chicago, very easy to get here, very affordable, and they put on a great show.
Let's check our starting lineups for the visiting West Michigan Battle Cats per their manager, DeMarlo Hale. Leading off for the Battle Cats, it'll be the shortstop, Donnie Sadler. He's followed by the second baseman, Chris Allison. Hitting third is Michael Coleman in center field. At first base, the cleanup hitter, Chris Stasio. Left fielder, John Bowles, bats number 5. Hitting sixth is Greg Patton at third base. Ethan Faggett, the right fielder, bats number 7. Hitting eighth is Tony DeRosso. He's the third baseman. And the catcher, Joe DePastino, is in the 9 hole. Defensively, here's how the Kane County Cougars shape up. In the infield, first to third, Ryan Jackson, Luis Castillo, Victor Rodriguez, and Tony Darden. In the outfield, left to right, Aaron Harvey, Todd Dunwoody, and Abdul Cole. Catcher is John Roscos, and Walter Miranda on the mound for the host Kane County Cougars. Good numbers on the year at 5-3, as you see below. And among the things that impress when one looks at Walter Miranda's numbers, he has limited the opposition to just a .222 batting average this year.
Well, it's kind of funny. They talk about the fact that he doesn't give up too many hits, and that's really because he doesn't throw too many strikes. You know, this guy has led the league in walks. He has 62 strikeouts and 60 walks. We've talked about that strikeout to walk ratio a lot in this series, and basically you want to see a 2-to-1. You want to see a guy that can punch a few hitters out and show enough control that he's not going to walk a lot of guys doing it. And Miranda has not been able to show that ability so far this season. And that's what the biggest thing that he has to work on.
Well, there's one of the big stories for tonight. 100 degrees. The heat index says 110. Lions and Ice say about $1.25. It is forecasted for more throughout the week. This is that heat wave you've no doubt been hearing of that is sweeping through the Midwest and is on its way to the East Coast. Heads up Boston, New York, and Philly. The heat is headed your way tomorrow. We're lucky enough to be in the middle of it here tonight. So Donnie Sadler will dig in for the West Michigan Battle Cats. You see Donnie's numbers. He leads the club in at-bats with almost 300. He's been in there more or less every day for his skipper, DeMarlo Hale. And the first pitch of the ballgame misses a bit high.
Both managers talked about their leadoff hitters and gave glowing reports about both of them, talking about they're in the league's lead as far as being two of the most exciting players in the game, both Luis Castillo and Sadler right here. These guys can run, they can put the ball in play, and they steal bases, which makes the game a lot more exciting for both these organizations.
2-0 is swung out and missed, and it's 2-1. Well, this is only our second A-ball game along the course of our Baseball America Tour. Baseball Across America Tour. Let's get the words straight there. Boy, the heat's going to be fun tonight, I tell you what. But we really didn't have a lot of opportunity to get into some of the major differences between A-ball and even AA and AAA ball when we were in Rancho Cucamonga a few weeks ago because of the magnitude of that operation. That is not your typical A-ball operation, nor is this one. What Rancho Cucamonga is in the California League, Kane County has been for the past few years here in the Midwest League, and there's a ball forward to Donnie Sadler.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when I was coming up through A-ball in 1981, you can see in the 13, 14 years that have passed since then, they used to just throw the balls out and say, go get them. There wasn't a whole lot of interest. But now minor league baseball has become such a big business and become such an interesting thing for the fans to go to that they realize that it's out there now. 15 years ago, there were people that didn't even know they had minor league baseball just because they didn't happen to live in a town where there was a team. So it's become much more popular, and when they put on the type of atmosphere that we've seen in this Baseball Across America tour, you can understand why fans come out by the numbers.
Chris Allison, the batter now, somewhat of a local kid from Rock Island, Illinois. He leads the team with a .328 average to start play tonight.
Now, Sadler's not going to be a guy that's going to hang around on first base with the lanky Miranda on the mound and the slow delivery to the plate. Got to look for this guy to run. He's got 24 stolen bases on the season.
Pitch home is swung out and missed. Nice breaking ball from Miranda. One of the things we have talked about along the course of our tour, Steve, is that you see those big bolstered stolen base numbers at this level quite often. You've got Sadler with 24, Allison, the man at the plate, with 30 to lead the club, and the man on deck, Michael Coleman, has 22. That's a lot of bags between three guys, and as you start to progress through the minors, those numbers are going to come down for various reasons.
Yeah, we talked about it in the opening about how guys get weeded out. Now, some catchers can throw and some can't. Now, we're talking about Roscoe's, who is definitely a prospect behind the plate here for Kane County, but he's had trouble throwing. And Sadler knows that, and so he's going to, you know, I would be surprised if he doesn't give him a shot here at least sometime during the night.
Time called. Home plate umpire Mike Alvarado pops out from behind the catcher.
It was funny, you know, coming through the Red Sox organization like I did, they didn't do a whole lot on player development. A lot of guys feel like they made it to the major leagues on their own. I know that I felt that way when I was in AA. Tony Torsia was my manager. We did not have a hitting coach. We did not have a pitching coach. Tony Torsia wore all those hats. Now they're much more into the instruction with Dan Duquette as the general manager, much more into their scouting system, and they're drafting players that can play baseball rather than guys that can just come in and hit you a 3-run homer. That's what always has been the reputation of the Red Sox. Hang around, get a couple guys on, and try to go deep. Sadler goes first to third, or home to third, in 6.8 seconds, which is the best time in the history of the Red Sox organization. I think he nipped me just by a couple tenths there.
That is a phenomenal number. Here's a 1-2 home. It swung out and missed. They send Sadler. The throw down is not in time. But there's a reason as to why you might see the bolstered stolen base totals in A-ball. Not quite as clean between pitcher and the infield, or between battery made rather, and the infielder covering at the bag.
Yeah, it's great to establish yourself. Pretty good jump right there. That's one of the things that Sadler's working on. They say that he'll steal a ton of bases once he realizes how to steal a base. He's relying on sheer speed right now. He gets a breaking ball, great pitch to run on. You can see the hitter almost interferes there. If Roscoe's hits the hitter with any part of his body or his arm in the throwing motion, that would be interference in the first, and the guy who stole the base, Sadler, would have to come back.
So Michael Coleman, the batter now, another guy who can run a little bit, hitting at .275 on the year. First pitch stays a little bit high. Well, you've got to really think about what that means, and that's what we read on the scouting report as far as Donnie Sadler, the guy at second base who just stole his way to second. The fastest guy ever to come up through the Red Sox system, ever to play in the Red Sox system, including guys that they've traded for along the years. That's a heck of a statement. It
really is, and in most organizations, it would be a dominating statement. But for the Red Sox, they're new to this speed game. I mean, you can't count on one hand any guy throughout history on the Red Sox organization who is known for stolen bases. In fact, I still hold the record at Double-A. Now, that will soon be broken with a guy like Sadler and a couple of the other guys that they have in this organization coming up. But when a guy like me, who didn't run that much, holds the record on their Double-A team, that's a bad statistic.
Yeah, and there's a bad throw to second as Miranda throws and tries to get Sadler. Boy, speed is such a factor in baseball, even more so at this A-ball level.
Wow. He's even wild to second base when he tries to pick a guy off. A guy like Miranda right now shouldn't mess around too much like that. If he wants to try a pickoff play at second, he ought to just show the guy on second that he has one by stepping off and spinning. You don't have to throw the ball to second. You know, when that happens, everyone in the stands cries out balk, but it is not a balk. You don't have to throw to second base. And being that he's so wild and has had so much trouble with control, he ought to just stick to concentrating on who's at the plate.
So it's 3-0 now on Coleman. Runner at third base is Sadler, one away. We're just underway from Elstrom Stadium. No score in the top of the first inning. Glad to have you with us as our Baseball Across America tour rambles through. Next pitch is in for a strike, a rather lenient strike zone there with a fastball upstairs.
And you can see Miranda, he has a nice, fluid, easy motion. He's a big kid. He just needs to work on mechanics. And he talked to Lynn Jones before the game, and I said, are you enjoying this? And he says, yeah, I love it, but I'll tell you what we have become is a bunch of broken records. I have to say the same thing over and over and over again to these younger kids, because either they don't understand or they just don't grasp the concept as easily as a major leaguer or a guy who's had a chance to play a little bit more baseball. These guys are young kids. They're just learning how to play professional baseball.
Full count now. Big at bat for Walter Miranda early. 3-2 on Michael Coleman. Here's a pitch home, and he misses outside, so there's runners at the corners now with one away. Not the worst thing in the world to have happen to you early. Now at least Miranda and the Cougars are set up for the double play. Chris Stasio will step into the box. You know, a common mistake in baseball, and this is something that transcends the levels as you go from A-ball to AAA. Even some big league pitchers that still struggle with this. Paying too much attention to base runners. You get yourself into deeper trouble by not focusing on going after the hitter, and as a result, a walk can all of a sudden, after a couple of errors and miscues, lead to a runner at third.
Absolutely, because at this level, how many times, at any level in baseball, how many times do you see guys get picked off? If someone gets picked off, someone has made a mistake generally, so you're better off to concentrate on the hitter, especially if you know you're the kind of guy who's had trouble with control.
There's a 1-0 pitch that dusts off Stasio, and it's the 2-0 now.
There's the motion. Look, he just lets go of that ball way too early. His release point is not very consistent. He lets go of that one a little higher than he wanted to. It gets away. And, of course, we talked about the heat and the humidity and the sweat and the moisture on his fingers is going to be a definite factor. Now, you know, pitchers can't wear wristbands, so that sweat that runs right down his arm ends up on the baseball, and sometimes you like to load one up, but other times you just want to get it over the plate.
Throw to first is a little low, and first baseman Ryan Jackson, you see him indicate, let's just slow it down a little bit and go after the hitters.
I think Ryan thought he had a guy picked off there, too. That was a close play.
So the 2-0, there's another look back to first, and you can really see Miranda paying a lot of attention to those runners. He wants to make sure he holds Coleman at first to, in fact, keep himself set up for the double play, but almost to a fault.
Yeah. You know, it's funny how pitchers all of a sudden, they want to pay a lot more attention to a guy when he gets on first base. Why not spend that energy, pay attention to him when he's at the plate so he doesn't get on first base? There you see Coleman's numbers for stealing. That's why he is paying attention to him. 22 out of 25 is tremendous.
If you see a guy taking a lead off first base with a smile on his face, you know that's where he wants to be.
when he smiles, it reminds me of the old Richard Pryor thing when he talks about Doberman pinchers. When you break into someone's house and there's a Doberman there, he says, he's not smiling, it's you. He's growling.
Oh, Michael Coleman knows that he is a disruptive force over there. Look at another throw over to the bag. Well, this happens in any visiting ballpark to Walter Miranda, and he's already hearing it from the crowd.
Yeah, and I bet he's hearing it from his own dugout right now, too. They talk about sometimes how slow the game of baseball is. And pitchers like Miranda, and granted, we've talked about how young he is and how young most of these players are. He's a guy that can really slow down a game, makes your defense get back on their heels because they're thinking, geez, this guy's never going to throw a strike. All of a sudden, he throws when the ball's hit to you. You're not ready to field it. You get an error. It makes it very difficult to play defense behind a guy like this, and it drags the games out. It makes for those 3 hour and 15-minute ball games, and nobody likes to play in those games, and very few people like to watch a game that gets that long.
Trying to fasten down the screws here is a right-hander out of Columbia. Here's the next pitch on. Good breaking ball in for a called strike 3. That's a fine pitch on 2-2.
Nasty slider. Every once in a while he breaks one out. Here you see the release point here. He hangs on the ball a little bit better. Pretty good little slider. Late breaking slider. Have a seat.
So 2 gone now. Runners still remain on at the corners. Take a look at Stasio. He'll think about that breaking pitch his next at bat. John Bowles will dig in. First pitch home to the left-hand hitting Bowles is the comebacker. Miranda does it himself, and despite a little lapse in control, nothing damage-wise against him in the first. We've played a half inning of baseball from Elf Center Field. The catcher, John Roscos, is in the cleanup spot. Batting 5th at first base is Ryan Jackson. The DH, Todd Cady, hits number 6. Occupying the 7th slot, Tony Darden at third base. The right fielder, Abdul Cole, bats number 8. And hitting 9th, Aaron Harvey in left field. Defensively for the Battle Cats around the infield, first to third, Chris Stasio, Chris Allison, Johnny Sadler, and Greg Patton. In the outfield left to right, John Bowles, Michael Coleman, and Ethan Baggett. The catcher is Joe DiPastino. And on the mound, 6'1", 175-pound, 21-year-old Jim Farrell. Farrell, a recent joinee to this team, was just assigned to the Battle Cats not long ago. He's only amassed 3 starts since being drafted. He's a new guy.
He's one of the June draft guys out of K-State. He's 1-0 with a 4.40, as we saw on the screen there. And so far, you know, they're trying to keep an eye on him because in his last start, took a line drive off of his shin, and it caused him a little bit of trouble when he was working on the side in between starts. So they're going to keep an eye on him, but this is just his 3rd start since becoming a professional ball player.
Luis Castillo takes a hack on the first pitch. You know, that's a term that is so often misconstrued in baseball circles. And there's nothing that's going to chap a minor league ball player more than when a fan asks him, when are you going to get to the pros?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. This is pro baseball, and you're right about that. When people say, when are you going to get to the pros, meaning when are you going to get to the major leagues? Well, number one, they don't know. They're trying hard, but it is pro baseball, and as soon as you sign that first contract, you're a professional player.
Got to get the terminology straight. There's the skipper, Lynn Jones. Trying to fight his way out of the basement early in the second half of the season in the Midwest League. And as we have discussed before, here in the Midwest League, they play halves to the season. And that's how they divide their divisional structure 3 ways. And then half-division winners, half-season winners, rather, play those half-season winners within their own division. Thus, the playoff structure for a eventual Midwest League champion.
It's a good system, too. It gives you the opportunity to maybe develop a little bit in the first half. If you don't play all that well, you can come back and have a good showing in the second half and put yourself into a playoff situation.
Well, some of these rosters change so often, especially at the A-ball level, with guys being reassigned to other A-ball affiliates, perhaps a move up to Double-A. A lot of these teams will really change their look from half to half. Oftentimes, you've got a completely different squad.
Absolutely, and it's all about development in the low minor leagues. And I had a chance to talk to Lynn Jones, the manager, and he says he's really happy here because he gives them the organization he loves, the Florida Marlins. They give him the opportunity to develop guys. They don't put any pressure on him. And we were down there comparing championship rings. Of course, he was with the '85 World Championship team of the Kansas City Royals, and I showed him my American League championship from '86 with the Red Sox. He said, "Yeah, I got a bigger one."
Where would my Texas League championship ring stack up?
It would stack up very nicely.
Really?
They did a nice job on that ring there.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you, the Kansas City Royals ring in '85 was one of the most beautiful rings ever done.
Counts full 3-2 on Luis Castillo, and those of you that have been watching this at bat will recognize a slashing hitter when you see one. I don't know if those fans recognize too much of anything when it's 110 on the heat index.
They're just wanting to have a cool one in their hands and see a little bit of A-ball baseball.
There's a little slap out to the left side. Sadler with a strong throw from shortstop to get him. That's a big league play in the hole at short.
Wow, that is a gun right there by Sadler. You're not talking about a very big kid out there. This guy, he's only 5'7", and he goes 160 pounds. But going away, you can see him running to his right. Now, trying to get enough on this throw is almost impossible. And look at the cannon he throws over there. That's a major league play right there. And that's one good reason why the Red Sox are very excited about this kid.
So Victor Rodriguez, the hitter now, with one away. First pitch fastball misses high.
We saw in the Double-A All-Star game Nomar Garcia-Parra, who's another guy who they think is an outstanding shortstop. So Sadler may have to bump over to second base in the future, but for right now, there's no reason why he can't play short. That's his natural position. And what everybody tells you in the minor leagues is that you're playing for 28 different organizations. You're not necessarily just playing for the Red Sox, because a lot of these guys playing will not make it to the major leagues, and a lot of them that do won't make it with the team that they're playing for right now. Trades happen, guys get released and picked up by other organizations, so you always have to play for the other teams.
Let's go down to Gus Johnson in an unusual spot here in Elstrom Stadium. Gus.
Well, one reason this is the class stadium of the Midwest League is because it offers certain, I guess you could say, amenities that not only other minor league clubs don't offer, but many professional clubs don't offer, a la the hot tub. They're sitting in the hot tub. And I can honestly say the hot tub is not too hot. How's it feeling there? And tell us, how do you get to enjoy the game from this vantage point?
Hey, there's only one way to enjoy it, with a nice cold beer and a nice cold bag of ice.
$80, you get a six-pack of beer, you get a waitress, you get a six-pack of pop, and you get a chance to sit in the hot tub and enjoy yourself and watch minor league baseball. And for me, I get a chance to be wet. Anyway, let's go back to you guys.
Gus, keep the microphone away from that there, bud. This is your first game with us. We don't want to lose you.
and Gus is done. I'll tell you what, I think they have the right game plan down there with the bags of ice. No need for a hot tub right now.
That was a cheesehead-looking crowd if ever I've seen one. Are you sure we're not in Milwaukee?
We're sneaking up on it.
People eating brats, hitting in the tubs. 2 away now here in the bottom of the first inning for Jim Farrell. Here's the reigning player of the week in the Midwest League, Todd Dunwoody, having a fine season.
Lynn Jones said that this guy is having one of the best quiet seasons he's ever seen. He really thinks he's one of the best players in the league, but he just goes about his business every day, doesn't make a whole lot of noise, and just gets the job done. And he's very impressed with his ability to play baseball, but he just seems like, hey, he's sneaking up on guys. But I'll tell you, at 310 and his numbers, 9 home runs, 72 RBIs, he's not going to be able to sneak up on guys for long.
No, you can't keep this kid a secret very much longer, as the 2-0 is lifted into right center field. Coleman drifts under it and puts it away, and Jim Farrell pitches a 1-2-3 first. We've played an inning of baseball here from Kane County tonight. We got no score. Welcome back, Matt Vasgersian, along with Steve Lyons. Gus Johnson, glad to have you with us back on the Deuce tonight. This has been a busy week for us on the Baseball Across America Tour. Couple of all-star games, little A-ball action tonight.
Look at the crowd. I'm telling you, they pack them in here. 23,000 over a weekend series. Just like Gus said, there's a lot of major league teams that would like those numbers right now.
That looks very similar to the scene along the course of the Tour de France. And on ESPN, our coverage continues on the Deuce. The Tour de France presented by Michelin. 21 days of racing, only 2 days of rest. Lance Armstrong, who just won the Tour du Pont, featured in that race, and that's coming up after our game tonight as well.
You are the accent master.
The Tour du Pont.
Give me an Alex Arias.
Alex Arias?
Yeah. You do a good job with his name, too.
Alex Arias?
There you go.
One of those? You like that?
Little Melito Perez.
Melito Perez.
There you go. You are the man. You are the man.
You don't live in El Paso for 2 years and not pick up at least an accent. Pick up some other things if you're not careful. I'll be all right. No score as we get into play, top half of the second inning. Life of the bullpen is good when you got the Oakley Blades and a full bag of seeds.
Just chilling down there. Look at those. Oh, they're styling, too.
You know, let me just say right now, not a fan. Not a fan of the Blades. I long for the days of the flip-down Bake McBride sunglasses.
There you go.
Where have they gone?
Whatever happened to old-time, get your body in the dirt baseball? Now it's all about Style Master. You see the guy comb his hair out there, and I think he knew the camera was on.
Oh, absolutely.
With a Felix Fermin lookalike.
There you go. There he goes again. Greg Patton will be the batter. What do we got, a comic book going down there, boys?
He's reading the Kane County Cougars player profiles. I guess maybe he was profiled this week.
Patton pops up an 0-1 pitch. Second baseman Luis Castillo is there to go back on the ladder and make the catch.
Castillo got so in tune with getting everyone else out of the way, saying, I got it, I got it, I got it, get out of the way, I'm going to catch this one. When he looked up, it was over his head. He had to come back and make the play.
Luis got the Blades going.
Oh, yeah.
I think they must have a deal here. I think everybody here is wearing the Blades.
Hey, everybody, the Killer Loop people know that they're on the Deuce today.
Look at that.
Passing out free shades like they were going out of style.
Batter now is right fielder Ethan Faggett, and the pitch misses high to him, 1-0. Ethan leads the club in triples with 6 of them. Guy who has a knack for coming up with the big hit, or so far has this year at the very least. You know, one of the things that you really have to talk about when you talk about A-ball as well, and you can see from some of the shots at the ballpark, the intimacy factor here in A-ball is so much higher. And the lower you are, of course, in the minor leagues, the more that intimacy factor is going to play a part. You get very active with booster clubs down at this level, and fans and players create quite a rapport amongst one another down here on the farm.
Yeah, and there are sometimes some relationships that you develop with the fans, people that you wouldn't otherwise know if not for baseball, that can continue on through your years. I know that I have a few friends still that continue to call me and check in on how I'm doing because of my minor league days.
Ethan Faggett with the base hit back up the middle. He's aboard with 1 away. Faggett will run on you a little bit. 9 stolen bases for him. You're really hard-pressed when you look down a roster in A-ball to find a guy with only 1 or 2 stolen bases. Here's Tony DeRosso now. So DeRosso's numbers a moment ago. He takes the pitch for a strike.
We talk about how players develop down here, and they try to teach a lot of these guys how to steal bases, how to hit and run, so they're developing baseball skills too. So you might hit and run with guys a little more often than you would at the higher levels of baseball to show them how it works, to teach a little bit about it.
The shot into the corner and left. Aaron Harvey over to get it at the track. 2 gone here in the top of the second.
And then, of course, anytime a hit and run doesn't work out, you're either going to have a caught stealing or a stolen base. So like you mentioned, a lot of guys run in the minor leagues. Even if they don't have great speed, it gives them the opportunity to learn how the game's played. And as they get higher into baseball, you know, it gives them a good base from which to work from.
So man aboard with 2 gone now, and Joe DiPastino will step in, the catcher. Guy in the 9-hole. Hey, we want to say hey to the area St. Charles bowling lane.
Oh,
They've got all 26 of their TVs on the deuce right now.
I'll tell you, we could probably stop by afterwards and roll a few frames.
Well, that ain't good for a plug.
With my my $1.30 average on the bowling lanes, they might be running me right back out of there.
You know, one of the things I enjoyed so much about our drive from Chicago here to Geneva, and for fans that really are unaware of where we lie geographically, we're about 45 minutes an hour away from O'Hare Airport here in Geneva, Illinois, in Kane counties. And along the drive, you pass through not only Aurora, Illinois, the setting for Wayne's World, but you see signs for Joliet, Illinois as well, the setting for the Blues Brothers. And I was just having a movie TV fest driving along here.
Yeah, and now Joliet and the area around there is famous for the riverboat gambling casinos. That's been a topic of controversy around the Chicago area.
Plus, cerebral fans here. There's something inside of that player profile book that has got everybody's attention tonight.
Checking out. Hey, it's like the guy says, you can't tell the players without a program.
The next pitch is taken outside, runner going, and no throw down. As Roscoe's popped up, the ball popped out, and it's an uncontested stolen base for Ethan Faggett. Tenth bag of the year for Ethan Faggett. Makes it in easily.
Here's the replay. He's running. He's got that same smile on his face, knowing that he's going to steal the base. You saw him cruising on into second base. Roscoe's once again having trouble throwing. That's been his biggest problem behind the plate.
So it's an RBI opportunity now for DiPastino, and he fouls a pitch off 1-2.
Sometimes when a catcher catches the ball and tries to make the transition between catching the ball and then throwing it, he opens his glove a little too quickly, and he doesn't actually reach in there and get it. He kind of flips it to his hand, and that's what Roscoe's did there. You have to catch the ball, turn the glove all the way around, reach in and grab it all very quickly, and then you'll be able to get the ball and throw a guy out. If you turn and flip the ball into your hand, you're going to have problems, and you'll drop the ball just like Roscoe's did in that play.
John trying to figure things out back there. Count is 1-2 on his catching counterpart, Joe DiPastino. I always love to hear the stories that would come out of catchers when one would step into the batter's box with the other behind the dish.
Yeah.
There's almost a fraternity between those two guys, and rarely do you see those guys bark at each other, but usually friendly banter when the two catchers step in there.
Yeah, I know. You know, really good friends, Darren Dalton and Scott Service, right now after that play right before the All-Star break, where Dalton came in hard on a double play ball home to first. But you know what catchers usually do is they joke with each other. What do you want? Here, I'll throw you a fastball. Yeah, right. You know, and they joke with each other up there because they know that they have to outduel each other mentally as well as physically.
2-2 pitch is a called strike 3. DiPastino was fooled as Miranda changes speeds on him, and nothing comes of a one-out base runner. We go to the bottom of the second, 0.
Out of luck.
Speaking of guys that are hosing them down, we've got Gus Johnson in the concourse. Gus.
Hey, guys, you know, one of the favorites at ball games is the speed pitch, and from what I understand, my colleague and very close friend Mike Mayock has tried the speed pitch before, and he didn't do too good of a job. So because he's my friend, I'm going to try to see if I can best him a little bit or maybe pick him up where he left. Ready? Watch it, boys. Uh-oh. 77. One more. Here we go. There you go. For my friend Mike Mayock, who's probably sitting somewhere watching this game. Mike, I did it for you, babe. Let's go back to the booth.
Mayock shown up yet again on national TV.
77 was his first toss, huh? That's probably a very below-average Major League changeup.
Yeah, but you know, we didn't see it. Did you notice that? We just heard him say 77.
Yeah, he could have been lying. I mean, if you're going to lie about something like that, you might as well break out at 87 or 90. What the heck?
I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that a bit. John Roscoe's the batter here against Jim Farrell, leading off the bottom of the second. As he counted 2 balls and a strike, and this little breeze has started to blow through the grandstand. Fans are starting to get a little bit into it now as they have come to life. The wind has sparked some life amongst the fans. Next pitch home to Roscos, who's hit in the air down the line in left field. John Bowles over there to corral it.
Here's the Roscoe swing. Pretty good looking swing. A little bit of an uppercut there. Looks like if he puts the good part of the bat on that ball, he gets a little more distance. Caught that one out on the end just a little bit and ends up being a harmless fly ball.
See in the front of that shot there, the trainer of the Kane County Cougars, Pat Laverty, who was, it looked like, lacing up a glove as Ryan Jackson stands in. Trainers down here at this minor league level, especially in A-ball, not only do they have to know how to wrap up an ankle and fix a toenail, but they've got to also be able to do some glove work as well. And I'm not sure if that was a trainer or not, but somebody working on a glove down there in the dugout. Counts a ball and a strike on Ryan Jackson.
Jackson, another one of the players here at Kane County that they're just raving about. He's hitting .336 and 70 RBIs. Now, he's struggled a little bit lately over the last couple weeks, and he's the kind of guy that is a really good pull hitter, and he says a lot of times in this league, a lot of teams are putting a shift on him. Now, Michigan is not doing that, but he pulls the ball so much. A lot of teams are running the shortstop way up the middle, bringing the second baseman further over to the right because he pulls the ball a little too much. But that hasn't been a problem for him so far. He's still getting his hits, hitting .336 on the season, and with a ton of RBIs. A couple guys on this team have the opportunity to drive in over 100 runs this year.
That's really something when you talk about the minor league level. 136 or so games played in A-ball. To drive in 100, tremendous.
Yeah, that's having a lot of guys on base in front of you, and that's having you get a lot of hits and doing the right things at the plate when you get that opportunity.
Last night of the AAA All-Star game, we saw Ron Coomer of the Albuquerque Dukes, who has driven in 100 each of the past 2 seasons. Last year with a total exceeding 120. 3-2 it remains on Ryan Jackson here.
This guy's kind of a line drive hitter, puts the ball in play sharply, occasional big power. They say every once in a while he just unloads on a ball and hammers it, but he just shows flashes of that power. And as he gets older and matures a little bit more, we may see more power numbers out of him too. Here's a look at that line drive swing. Good motion going backwards in order to go forward to get some momentum. Look at the weight distribution. He's straight up and down right now. Head down on the pitch when the ball is in the hitting zone. That's a pretty good looking swing. You can see right there, we talked about him being a pull hitter, but he's fouling those pitches off very well that are going away from him. He's not out in front of himself too much, and he will drive that ball in the left center field also.
He's hanging around on this at bat. Fouled off a couple of pitches on 3-2. Here's the next payoff home from Jim Farrell out of the wind. And Jackson lays off, draws himself a 1-out walk. That's a nice at-bat out of Ryan Jackson. So that is the first base runner tonight against Michigan right-hander Jim Farrell.
You know, it's tough to be a kid this young and learning how to play. We talked about Jackson. He's learning how to play first base. His strikeout to walk numbers aren't too bad. He struck out about 50 times and walked about 50 times, and that's not too bad if you're a hitter. 51 strikeouts at this level for as many at-bats as he has and as many at-bats as he'll get over the course of the season isn't too bad.
There's a nice fastball out of Jim Farrell on Todd Cady, good for a strike. 0-1 on Cady. You get really consistent numbers when you look up and down this 1 through 9 offered up by Lynn Jones tonight in the Kane County Cougars.
Here's a situation where you can look at where the game's starting to establish itself. Both pitchers are doing a decent job keeping runners off base. There's not a lot of hitting going on, so you look to start doing something like a hit and run. Jackson doesn't have that much speed at first base, but anytime you have a hit and run, he doesn't have to have that much speed because the hitter is going to be swinging at the ball. Now, I didn't personally like to hit and run when there was a left-handed hitter up, only because his job is to try to hit a ground ball where the infielder who's covering second base on the steal would have been. And in this case, you'd have to hit it at the shortstop side, and that doesn't allow the guy to go first to third, which is your major objective. So when you have a right-handed hitter up, he hits the ball the other way, and it's an easy first to third move for the guy who's stealing the base.
Next pitch is swung on and missed, strike 3. What a nice sequence out of Jim Farrell. He gets strike 2 swinging against Katie on the high fastball, and then brings himself down a little bit and gets Katie to strike out on a pitch lower in the zone. We're going to take a look at it again.
That's just a fastball right out over. Pretty good pitch to hit. Katie's sitting down wondering why he missed it.
First strikeout tonight for Jim Farrell, and with 2 away, runner aboard still, it's Tony Darden at the plate. First pitch to Darden is fouled away.
Darden's a guy for this Kane County team who really can play anywhere. He's bounced around, and certainly need guys like that on every team. There's guys willing to go out and play in the outfield for you, play third base, play second base, and he's had a little bit of a hand injury, so he's struggling with that. Lynn Jones says he has a really nice swing, but he's kind of had a tough time airing his swing out because he's still worried about that hand injury, and he's been struggling a little bit because of it.
So the skipper, DeMarlo Hale, giving some signs to his catcher. Many of the plays, if not each and every one of them at this level, called from the dugout. 0-1 misses high, and it's a ball and a strike now. And of course, that's a managerial preference as well. There are certainly many A-ball situations around, with 5 A-ball leagues that manager and catcher have good relationships, and that allows for some flexibility in calling plays.
And playing baseball at the professional level is all about learning how to play the game and be a professional while you're doing it. And if you give more responsibility and delegate the responsibility to your catcher and make him learn how to be a catcher back there, make him learn how to call a game. Your manager can't call the game for you your whole life. You have to learn how to do it on your own, and it starts out being a give and take situation, and then towards the end of the year, if you have a guy back there who is worth his salt, is going to be calling his own game and maybe just occasionally look in for a pitch on a tough situation or a tough pitch count.
3 balls and a strike now. You see the man in that right-hand portion of your screen? That is big league great Darrell Evans, the guy whose numbers and the accomplishments that he has on his resume in his long big league career would lead one to consideration perhaps to the Hall of Fame. There goes the runner on the next pitch. Doesn't matter. It's ball 4. Darden is aboard, and there's runners at first and second.
Here you see a pretty good running count, 3-1. Good time to run, good pitch to hit. If you get it, you lay off of it. High throw. Look, Sadler get up. Oh, get up there. He jumped higher than he is.
Man, look at that birdie. Look at that. A little Spud Webb out there.
Air Sadler.
Donnie Sadler showcasing his skills early in this ball game tonight as we've got a little conference on the mound. Pitching coach Bill Maloney out to chat things over with his arm. Bill Maloney, a Massachusetts guy. How about Darrell Evans, though? We spoke about him just a moment ago, and a lot of fans don't realize the things that he has accomplished along the course of his big league career. Many great years with the Giants, with the Tigers. He is the oldest player ever to get 40 big league home runs. And this might come as a surprise to many. He is the only player in the history of big league baseball to get 40 home runs in both leagues, the American and National. And when you think about guys that perhaps would have had a chance to do that, Darrell Evans isn't the first guy to pop into your mind.
Oh, absolutely not. He kind of came on later in his career, and now since his retirement has really had a great time developing minor league players. He had a big league hitting job in New York for a half a season, and then since that time has bounced around the minor league levels, and he's having a great time doing it. And you just don't think of guys of his stature saying, okay, I'll suck it up and I'll go back to the minor leagues and I'll teach. And it's very easy for a guy like him to want to stay at the major league level because everything's a little bit more cushy up there. But no, he's riding the buses and doing the job down here.
But with all this activity on the base paths, seems hard to imagine, as that line score we showed you a moment ago indicated, that we've only had 1 hit and 1 error. The base on balls has been a factor tonight. 2 of them committed by Jim Farrell, and 2 of them also doled out by Walter Miranda. There's strike 3 on Abdul Cole, along with the 2 walks committed by Farrell. A couple of strikeouts this inning. We're done with 2. Bagels on the board, 0-0. The Michigan Battle Cats, Kane County Cougars. And there you see the amiable mascot, Ozzie T. Cougar, patrolling Elstrom Stadium.
Ozzie doing the fan race, was flying around the bases and did a tremendous head-first slide. He goes all out. I hope he's got some arm pads on underneath that outfit.
Oh, speaking of mascots, there's one of our faves. The Fanatic is in town, folks.
Of course, he used to be exclusive to the Phillies. Now he's on his nationwide tour, going around and doing what he does for anybody who will have him. And, you know, players a lot of times at the major league level don't really like the mascots all that much, but the Philly Fanatic is one guy that everybody enjoyed. He's very good at what he does.
Very, very good indeed. And yesterday at the AAA All-Star Game in Scranton, we saw Dave Raymond, who invented the Fanatic and has since sold it back to the parent Phillies, and he is doing mascot things of his own sport. The Sport Magic team we saw at the AAA All-Star Game last night, but the Philly Fanatic lives on. Donnie Sadler will lead off the 3rd for West Michigan, or Michigan, as it were. Take a look at what Donnie Sadler has done and what the scouts think of him. Again, he's put up big numbers this year, and we've seen some of his tools already. 1-0 pitch to him is hit high in the air to straightaway center field. Dunwoody there to corral it 1 away here in the 3rd.
You know, we talked about his speed, 6.8 seconds from 1st to 3rd, and what you got to sit down and think about how far you're running, and he does it in less than 7 seconds. That's flying, and that ball that he hit right there was almost 400 feet, so he's not a very big kid. He's got some nice pop in his bat, and the Red Sox are very excited about getting this kid, and they stole him in the draft. He was a late-round draft choice.
There's Chris Allison now. He takes a pitch for a strike. Well, Sadler was one of those guys that a lot of scouts and a lot of major league clubs shied away from him because he was all but signed, sealed, and delivered to play college football with a big program. Ground ball to shortstop. Rodriguez gets the throw over to Jackson just in time. 2 away.
This guy gets down the line. Chris Allison gets down the line very quickly. Also, close play. Nice call by the umpire. He was out. And that makes all your infielders, you have to think about speed when the ball's hit to you. Instead of worrying about your mechanics of catching the ball, that thought's always in the back of your mind. Wow, this guy can run. I got to get it and get rid of it. And if you don't, that plays just that much slower, and the guy would be safe. Allison can run. The Red Sox are now sporting a lot of speed, especially at the top of the lineup in the A-ball. Sadler, Allison, and Coleman can all run very well, and that's something that the Red Sox organization just hasn't had for years and years and years.
1-0 pitch home to Coleman. Misses inside. Remember what we said about Sadler? A lot of scouts shied away from him because he was headed to play football. The same exact thing can be said for this man, Michael Coleman. Coleman was done. He was going to play football at Alabama. There was no question about it. Another guy that the Red Sox swiped.
And it was so funny, too, because the way that story went down, after the first few rounds of the draft, they had a scout call him, and he was very disappointed that he didn't get drafted, even though I think he was trying to use his football as a little bit of a bargaining chip into baseball. And so they asked him point blank, do you want to play baseball? And he said yes. And they drafted him the next day in the draft. It takes 2 days to make the Major League draft these days. And he signed.
Miranda gets off the mound quickly, and the throw over to first is in time to get Coleman trying to get aboard with 2 away, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Miranda, his first here in the 3rd. Midway through inning number 3, we are still at 0.
Here's the play that ended the last inning. You can see Walter Miranda. Look at him get off the mound like a cat. Now, he doesn't fall off too badly. Gets there very quickly, throws the ball to first base. Ryan Jackson makes the play. He's ready to throw the ball around the horn, but guess what, Ryan? 3 outs. That is called a fine in the Kangaroo Court, and I'm sure there's a few guys on the bench that noticed. He's hoping that his manager didn't notice.
Well, if there weren't before, there are now.
Yeah,
Once the boys watch this tape, we'll have fines levied.
And that's all a part of the mental aspect of the game of baseball, which they also have to learn. These are guys that haven't had that much experience in Major League Baseball, as we talked about in the opening of the show, and also they're young kids, so they need to have their attention spans worked on a little bit too.
Aaron Harvey leads off the third for host Kane County and takes the first pitch down low. Good numbers on Aaron Harvey, indeed, with that .330 batting average. Got to have your number 9 hole hitter hitting at .330. Pretty effective offense.
Yeah, that's why they said they set this lineup up this way. This guy, Lynn Jones, says that he's a really funny guy to watch play baseball because he doesn't have a classic swing. He has trouble with his mechanics, and yet he gets his hits. .328 on the season. There's nothing wrong with that.
He's in front 3-0. Next pitch home to him's in for a strike. Once again, as we are here in A-ball, to remind fans, just a 2-man umpiring crew down here on the Low Farm. Mike Alvarado behind the plate and his crewmate, Pat McGinnis, a native of nearby Joliet, Illinois. There's ball 4 over to Harvey, so the leadoff hitter is aboard for the first time in the ballgame for the Kane County Cougars.
This Kane County team has relied on its offense. They've got some guys that can swing the bat. They've got some guys that can run the bases. They score a lot of runs. They're near the top of their division in offense. Pitching is where they've had some struggles. They have not been able to pitch the ball effectively, and they've had to win games. You know, Lynn Jones said we've had to out-offense them. And they're winning games 9-8, 9-7, and they have to score a lot more runs because they're giving up so many.
And the numbers certainly back that up. Kane County with a .275 batting average at the start of play tonight. Tops in the Midwest League, but the worst ERA in the league at 4.53, which, when you look at that number just by itself, isn't altogether horrible. Not where you want it. 14 teams in the Midwest League. 3 divisions. There's a throw over to first and the runner back. You know, one of the things that fans might find strange about this matchup, in no way between the Michigan Battle Cats and the Kane County Cougars does one get the tip that the Red Sox and Marlins are represented out there on the field tonight. In fact, in the entire Midwest League, as we see a balk committed by Jim Farrell, in the entire Midwest League, there is not one single sniff of a parent club in any of the logos or names down here at this level.
I'm going to check out the replay of the balk here and see exactly what was done. I guess he didn't spin his back foot. You got to move your back foot to make a move to first, and he just wheeled on it, and you can't do that.
So the Cougars have got a runner at second with nobody out, and the fans starting to get into it here. You see they have a rally meter on the center field scoreboard, and it is registering at triple digits. Going between 110 and 109. Here's the next pitch home. Squaring around to bunt is Castillo. It's a good one. Third baseman Patton charges, not in time. Utilize them wheels. Luis Castillo, with 37 bags on the year, puts down a great bunt and legs it out. And now there is trouble brewing for the Cougars.
Wow, not only does he put down a great bunt right there, because you have to get that ball to the third base side, because with a man on second, your third baseman has to decide whether or not to come in and get the bunt or stay at home for a possible play at third. And he made that decision. Very difficult for the third baseman to have to come in and make that play. Patton comes in, makes the play, but he's way too late to get the guy at first base, and that's a base hit.
Here's Victor Rodriguez, a chance for the Cougars to get out in front. A 0-0 tie. We're in the bottom of the third. Again, you see the A-ball pitcher, Jim Farrell, this time. Concerned with the runner at first base. We saw Miranda very concerned with that as early as the first inning. Farrell isn't going to let Castillo get off to a real big lead against him at first. Well, there's a pitch that glances off the glove of DiPastino, and that's going to score a run.
That is a classic cross him up, and the catcher's not happy at all. DiPastino fired the ball back at Farrell. And what I mean by saying that he got crossed up, is it looks to me like Castillo called for a breaking pitch, wants a curveball. You throw a curveball up there about 82 miles an hour and it breaks, and you get a fastball instead, you can't get your glove on it. Look at that. He's so surprised. The fastball's coming in maybe 87 to 90. You're looking for something breaking down into your right as a catcher, and it glances off the top of your face mask because it's not the pitch you called for.
And that, sadly, is charged as a pass ball on Castillo, the toughest of official scores, but that's what you got to do. And look at how many times Castillo has run. Forget about the success ratio. He's been on there and run 54 times.
Yeah, he may be getting caught a little more often than they'd like him to, but they want him to keep running because one of the things that they're working on with him is reading pitchers and getting a good jump. Now, if you're getting thrown out as many times as he has, he's not getting a good enough jump because he has outstanding speed. He has to learn how to steal a base.
3-0 home to Rodriguez, in for his strike. Speed is certainly a large part of it. Castillo runs the 60 in 6.6. That means he gets over to second very quickly, but learning how to read pitchers, as you mentioned, Steve, how to get your jumps and how to make your breaks, that's a whole different aspect of the game.
Yeah, you can see Castillo at second now. He has another opportunity, if he wants to try to steal third base. Now, it's not necessarily a great idea to steal third with nobody out, but if you're going to be a great base stealer, you never tip your hand. Right now at second base, he's not getting a very aggressive lead. He's just kind of dancing a few steps off the bag and letting everybody know that he's not going anywhere. Now, once you get an out, when it's a better situation to try to steal third, I bet he becomes a different player out there at second base, and he might show you a different look.
There he goes on 3-2, and it's a shot the other way. First baseman Stasio makes the play and steps on the bag. So with the runner in motion and the ball hit to the right side, certainly Castillo is going to get to third. And with one away, Kane County in a position where a fly ball off the bat of Dunwoody will make it 2-0.
Here's a big part of minor league baseball. Look at Lynn Jones coaching right now, telling him the things that he needs to do, talking to him about the things that may have gone wrong in this last sequence of hitters, and telling him exactly what he has to do in the future here and be aware of the situation that's going on right now.
Well, Dunwoody is a leading run producer on the club with the infield in, a ground ball to shortstop. Sadler comes home, and Castillo is meat at the plate. Well, that is why you bring your infield in with a runner at third and less than 2 away.
Now that's interesting right there with the score the way it is, 1-0, and we'll see a replay of this. When the infield is in, he's going to be dead at the plate. But there is a play that most teams use where they'll take a chance, and they call it the contact play. And that means, you know, as soon as the ball is hit, you're going, no matter where it is. If it's a line drive at someone, we're going to be doubled up. If it's a ground ball to one of the infielders, you're probably going to be out. But they take that chance that maybe there's some hesitation in the infield, or else you get such a good jump that you're going to score anyway. And that's what a lot of teams do. I don't know if that was the play they had on right there, because it certainly didn't work. But it may have been a miscommunication, and Castillo may have gone on his own, and if he did, he's in trouble.
Well, let me ask you this: the runner is the replay shows us that perhaps he was just coming to the plate. But let me ask you this: we're early in the ball game. I mean, we're only in the third here. We're in the bottom of the third inning. It's only 1-0. They pull the infield in with that situation. Does that tell us that manager DeMarlo Hale thinks it's going to be a low-scoring ball game till the end?
Well, not only that too, but Vic Rodriguez at the plate, who has struggled at times at the plate, is not swinging the bat the way he wants to right now and has bad pitch selection. You're not too worried about him as a hitter. And you put a guy like this up, now you're talking about a different situation.
Roscoe's now has it counted 2-1. Roscoe's with the .316 batting average. There's the throw over to first, and Dunwoody back. Not only is Dunwoody a run producer, he is a base stealer. Another guy. 28 bags. He's been thrown out 11 times. He's got that power speed package going, and that's going to turn heads of baseball people, regardless of what level you're at.
And I think you're going to see all night long the base stealers have already been challenging both catchers. And the reason for that is because the book on Roscoe's is that he does not throw well.
There goes a runner on 3-1. Pitch is swung on and missed. Thrown down to second is not in time. It almost took off Pat McGinnis's head, but it was not in time at the bag, and it's stolen base number 29 for Todd Dunwoody.
And the same situation for Joe DiPastino. This is his first year behind the plate, so they're going to take advantage of that. And there they go, off to the races. Little quick look in there to see